Okay, we're recording now. So first, we'll go over some of the keyword list, what's on it. I have the exam in front of me. And then if you have any other questions, like, about the final paper, this internship, it should be easy. They'll contact you about, it is sanctioned by ASU. It's not like some guy in the alley asked me to do it. But if you have any questions or something, they're good people. I worked with them before. It's only really demographic information, I think, on this one. And then at the end of the class, I'll have a video, a little lecture. How do you put a internship on your resume so you can do it and put on your resume? And you don't have to do it. You can do the paper. Some people say, no, I'd rather do the paper. And it depends on how much information they have to begin with. So without further ado, any questions? Nothing?
When does the midterm open up?
Friday, I believe, or Saturday morning at 8. I mean, I could open it tomorrow morning. It's not a big deal. Any questions about the midterm? What's going to be on it? I did send out the keyword list. Nothing? We're all going to get an A?
I mean, that's the hope, right?
That is the hope. Not for me, for you. See, they pay me the same if you fail, so that's why I'll make it very hard for you. Only kidding.
Well, good. No pressure then.
All right. So let me give you a few things on it. First, Hans Morgenthau about power. This is about Afghanistan, Vietnam, everything, because we think, okay, we won in Afghanistan, and then the Taliban was able to regroup and come back. What did Hans Morgenthau say about power? What was it? It begins with an A. Who remembers? And you can also... What, Arthur? Oh, I thought that was Arthur. Anyone remember? Power is...
Isn't it ambiguous?
Yes. See, what is power? And this is what's happening with Russia as well right now, where I'm a little incredulous of the arguments that said, oh, Putin thought it was going to be a cakewalk. I don't think they thought that when you saw the Chechen wars. I think they were more prepared, but I don't think they thought it was going to be like this. I mean, they're actually losing in land they had before the Crimea. So it is kind of a tough. Chandler's here. Nice to see you virtually. So it is kind of tough to measure what power is, right? And that's what he talks a lot about if you end up reading his whole entire book, and I do it in post in the POS Global Politics as well. The article Counterinsurgency and Beyond takes a more fusionist approach. Does anyone remember this purist versus fusionist? Just a few key things on that. Who remembers?
I don't remember seeing directly like purist mention, but I did notice the different fusions they were bringing up, like the new skills basically the military is going to be using, like diplomacy, language, cultural, geographical skills.
Good, like Eric. That's 100% what the article reflects. They were using it from, I think the example was Missouri. They were more agriculturally oriented, and they were going to send them down there. I think it was the ROTC to Afghanistan. The goal there, whether it works or not, is to expand kind of our understanding of what intervention, military, and everything is. So a lot of countries tried to do that. Instead of just having Russia, for example, taking it from their point of view, the Wagner Group, which still exists in its remnants, you could have a broad spectrum of activities in Africa. That would make a good paper. What else is Russia doing in Africa to get them on our side? That would be kind of interesting. One of the big things that particularly is important now, and he's going to speak if he's not speaking already, is the article. This is why I kept it there. Can Pompeo and Bolton exist? This is about bureaucratic infighting. It's kind of interesting because in that bureaucratic battle, right, people will say, oh, I'm going to vote for Trump, I'm going to vote for Biden, I'm going to vote for RFK, whoever. So, but the problem with that is, who do they have around them in the bureaucratic battle with Pompeo and Burton? Obviously, Bolton. That's why I say Burton. Obviously, Pompeo won. That's why he's going to get the RNC. But that would mean Pompeo's ideas are going to be more prominent than the ideas of people in the bureaucracy that they that they win against. So if, since Bolton was out for whatever reason, we really don't know, then Pompeo's ideas about intervention, national security, etc., takes higher status. It's kind of like getting the president's ear. That's what we call the bureaucratic politics, or I think the book refers to like more bureaucratic infighting, turf wars, etc. So that's very important since there's an election coming up. It's really not always about the president. It's about essentially, who are they going to bring in? Who are their advisors? And that's really, really important. I did want to skip to something because it's so important. We talked about interpretive methods. I do it a lot. Chandler knows it from the class he was in before on research methods. That's very, very important because of the idea. Isn't that on here? Dora Maria Tejas and everything. Was she on the list? Let me make sure I get the thing. Planning, bureaucracy. Yeah, military and terrorism. That whole idea of what a terrorist is, and I do it in just about every class. Dora Maria Tejas was a terrorist in our eyes, not mine personally, but then she was a hero in Nicaragua, and she still is, standing up to Daniel Ortega. But interpretive methods, I want to stress here, is also just about imagery, the importance of imagery. Why would that be important right now? What just happened? Who knows? No one knows what happened? What big image?
The
I mean,
attempt.
oh, go ahead, Matt.
Matt, you want to take it?
I was gonna say, yeah, the attempt of the assassination.
Oh yeah, I mean Trump. I mean, I am obviously not in his head, but just raising his fist like that. I mean, love him or hate him, it's not really the who loves him or hates him not really important. But the fact that that image now is solidified throughout U.S. culture, and will it help him in the election? That's what you people can decide. But that's exactly what interpretive methods is about. It's not really about, Trump's policies, Biden policy, etc. It's more about how we perpetuate and legitimize imagery, meaning, ideas, etc. And now the memes of that are going to take a whole life on its own. Whether you love Trump or hate Trump, those are going to be the memes. But the memes of showing Trump pumping his fist and all this stuff are incredibly powerful for a lot of people. When Ronald Reagan, I wasn't around when he got shot, but survey data went up. Same thing goes with George Bush, the most hated person. I mean, he's like approval ratings like 12%. Whereas after 9/11, his approval ratings, I know most of you weren't even born. Don't remember it. Most of my students, when I talk about it, they weren't even born to like 3 years old. But I mean, I remember when it happened, his approval ratings were incredible, like 90%. So these are the kinds of things in this area are very important for people who do national security and interpretive methods. Battle of narratives, what is Russia doing in the Ukraine? I mean, excuse me, if we have like RT Russian TV, we'll try to kind of spin it towards Russia and give a beneficial thing. That's what interpretive methods is all about. Make a great paper, propaganda, and all this stuff. But just now, I'll put that on the midterm. Pumping his fist, Trump with blood down his ear. I mean, that imagery is so powerful. And that's what, in a nutshell, interpretive images is all about. Any questions or comments on that? Although we can't get too deep into it. Mark.
When do you offer that class? Just curious.
Offer which class? Sorry.
The interpretive methods.
I did it. I do interpretive methods just about all my classes. So there is no interpretive methods course. I do it a lot in empirical inquiry. That's our research methods, global politics. I do it in a lot of classes depending on I do it. I expand on it in the empirical inquiry. Everything about statues, all this stuff is very, very important. There is another thing though that's very important on this exam. In addition to Trump's fist, I'm definitely putting that on there. Like, how does that reflect what interpretive methods, what we did in the class? But I definitely put on offensive realism. If you remember, there's not gonna be much from the lecture on U.S. foreign policy and theory, since I'll use it in the foreign policy class in a couple semesters. But offensive realism presupposes, I want everyone to understand, that states, regardless of ideology, expand. So like that's kind of Mersheimer's thing, love him or hate him, is that states expand. It doesn't matter whether it's Iran, it doesn't matter whether it's Russia, China in the South Chinese Sea, they're going to do it. It's like it's not a cultural thing or anything. States start seeing it in their interest. But often the problem with it, it goes against states' interests because then they start, it's very costly. They start to, sorry for my language, but piss people off. And then there's a backlash. Like Vietnam, the Philippines are all welcoming the United States because because China is expanding into their area, so they want to use us as a counter balance of power, which will be on there. Does anyone remember the Estonia versus Cuba thing? What was the main goal of those two videos? The age-old national security goal, which I think is happening today. That was on there, wasn't it? What did they do? What did both do? Chandler?
It's when a smaller state allies with a stronger, more powerful state to help balance against a different threat.
Exactly. And what's so interesting about those two small videos, you don't have to watch the whole thing, is that Estonia, a small state, sees, okay, I'm taking the United States and NATO to balance Russia. And then Cuba said, well, we're in the United States' backyard. We're getting the Soviet Union to balance the United States. That's what states do. It's an age-old thing, and I think that's what's trying to happen now. If smaller states could actually play Russia and the United States, which I think you do not have to agree with me, are in a Cold War, China as well, etc., that there's going to be a huge race for allies, particularly in Africa, Latin America, etc. So that's extremely, extremely important. And that's why, I talk about Vietnam a lot. Vietnam has to do with a lot, counterinsurgency, invisibility, non-conventional power. Power is ambiguous because we lost. But I'll also be adding another point to that. The Vietnam is also now a big alliance with the United States, which is absolutely amazing because you see all the movies, all the tales of what we did to Vietnam was horrific. I mean, going all the way over there and just bombing the living crap out of the people, horrible, but they love us after all these years. It's like, and now they want us. It was Obama who made an astute move to lift up the arms embargo we had in Vietnam against Vietnam, obviously attributable to the war 1,000 years ago, not 1,000, but 60, 70. And then to allow us to send weapons to Vietnam, and now they're on our side. So that's going to be very, very important for national security, or all these different kinds of alliances. So that's what's important about Vietnam. If you see it on the keyword list, very important to notice. So we got that. We got the Pompeo, bureaucratic politics matter, counterinsurgency and beyond, Hans Morgenthau. Myanmar will be on there. I'll just go. What did you think of the documentary? Intense?
Actually, that's the first time I've ever heard about it. And
really?
Yeah, I was shocked. I think everything else just what's going on with Ukraine and Russia, it just plays a small factor compared to what we're seeing the media is giving us. So I was shocked. It's a genocide that's going on.
That would be a great paper, not necessarily on Myanmar, but a smaller crisis like Sudan, Somalia, which people are forgetting that is going on now. But because we have what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in Ukraine, it's lamentable that all these other crises kind of get pushed out of the way. I consider it genocide. They hate the Rohingya. I actually monitored one of the things they did. It's for this Phoenix foreign policy group, and they had former ambassadors and stuff. And they even said the woman, her name slips my mind, who won the Nobel Peace Prize, is also kind of prejudiced against against the Rohingya. So it's like not something that like most people from Myanmar do not like. The Burmese do not like the Rohingya, and it's been a horrible genocide. That will be, though, to frame it on the exam, all of the above. I mean, that's the answer. It's going to be state actors, non-state actors, and neighboring states. Obviously, state actor, the government of Myanmar, non-state actors, the Rohingya, and other groups that it's attacking, but also neighboring states where you start seeing Bangladesh very nervous. Bangladesh is the most populous state in the world, even beats out El Salvador, and it already has enough people. So all of these characters, international characters in national security, really play an important role, and you're welcome to do a paper on it. I used to have a debate: should we or should we not militarily intervene? But everyone said no, so I said, well, okay, it doesn't be much of a debate. Anything else on that documentary? Kind of tough, huh? Mark?
I was just gonna say I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
It's just straight up. I just totally forgot about that.
Yeah, no, that's what happens. And if a great paper would be on one of these crises. There was a brutal attack a while back on the I want to say, yeah, Somalian hotel. And it was brutal, but it didn't get much airplay because of Gaza and Ukraine. Not saying Gaza and Ukraine aren't important, but it does overshadow these other countries. Oh, go ahead. Did someone say?
Oh, sorry, my camera's not working, but
That's
to
fine.
that point,
You don't have
I
to be on
follow a
because we're
lot
gonna
of
post it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I follow a lot of crisis in Africa and like especially in Ethiopia, a lot of like water shortages, resource shortages, and then insurgencies creating like being created from those conflicts and people rising up. So I really like the Myanmar kind of highlighting it. It was the first I've seen someone talk about that problem happening. So it was refreshing. And I just didn't know for our final exam paper, do we get to choose that topic? Do we get to
Yeah.
choose a topic to argue that, to see?
You can do any topic as long as national security related. Anything basically is open. Anything that's important for you. And that's another thing I want to stress. I don't know where you're going in your future, but you might also want to think of doing a paper that might help you for your career. You want to join the State Department, do something on diplomacy. You want to get intelligence, you can get into intelligence. The Myanmar conundrum would be a great paper, and you can really begin by justifying the papers that, this has been kind of marginalized. And, or when you talk about Ethiopia, people forget about, I apologize for my pronunciation. Maybe you know better, the Tigres area. I'm giving it a little
Yeah,
spin.
the Tigras area.
Yeah. I do a thing on that in my political violence class. That's in class. And I did give it once online here. It's a lamentable situation what's going on in Ethiopia. And then Eritrea is
Yeah.
an important variable, etc.
Yeah, definitely people think, oh, it's so far away, from us, but it does pose a future national threat and security to our economy
Oh, I
and
agree.
our
Yeah.
own culture.
Africa always gets kind of like, oh, that's just Africa, etc. It's a very lamentable situation. Obviously, Rwanda crisis,
Yeah,
but then,
every country you go into, there's something else.
yeah. And then I did want to stress the log rolling in Plan Colombia. That is basically showing that paper when I wrote it, so it's going to be on there. We're very egotistical. If I don't give it to my students, no one else will read peer reviews because they're so boring. But the goal there is just to show all the other players in national security. And I think they play out more than people give credit to. Like, even when you look at the Ukraine, like, there are people winning in Russia on this war. People are making money from it. Who are they pushing it? Do they have Putin's ear? And that goes for a lot of these, like drone development in Iran, Turkey, other places. There's a strong kind of industrial, I call it the academic industrial complex. There's a lot of, how military industrial complex, this kind of military academic industrial complex that exists because now the academics are on board. They get a lot of money from the military and stuff. So one of the things is that to show that in national security, foreign policy, etc., there are a lot of actors outside just, say Pompeo. There are people lobbying for economic interests, and that was about Plan Colombia. That costs you $6 billion. So, and in those days. So that now that's probably worth about 12. So, it is a large chunk of change, and it's showing that states aren't necessarily rational actors, but they're being kind of influenced by these kinds of players. And of course, the stuff I do in Colombia, Centro Andino bombing, national security, how difficult urban terrorism is to fight. If you even want to fight it, sometimes, people are sympathetic to these non-state actors. But in this case, the Centro Andino bombing, very, very difficult. I don't think I showed in this group, and I should, clip from Battle of Algiers, where they used women in Algeria to fight against the French to do these I'll have to send it out after this, and then I'll put on the midterm. And remember, the more points, the better in this class. More assignments, you like it. You like it. Because then it's already over 100, so it just keeps on going. So, that's the Centro Andino bombing. And don't forget, I do something on constructivism at the beginning of the course. That's kind of stress meaning, ideas, norms, how things kind of get perpetuated and legitimized. Somewhat like interpretive methods, like Trump pumping the fist, which I'll definitely be talking about that. Vietnam does come up once or twice, like I just said earlier. But one of the things that's very, very important is the whole compound warfare. Does anyone remember that? And it's from the article, and I mentioned it with the Ukraine if you're pro-Ukraine, the Ukraine if you're Russian, and the Ukraine and other conflicts. Does anyone remember?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
use of irregular forces to help the conventional forces.
Right. Excellent. That's a type of more the hybrid understanding of national security. I think that's important because when I lived in Nicaragua, I saw that a lot. Like, it's not just, and obviously Colombia, you had what we call paramilitaries. They're military, but not like officially the military. So they're like, a sketchy group. They might be helping the military for food. I don't have a job. So I need, to work. So then they hire me kind of as a contractor. Some people get into these fights just because they maybe want to protect their land. That's happening now with the paramilitary forces in Mexico against the drug cartels, where people start coming up. What do they call them? They call them in Mexico, not paramilitaries. Does anyone remember what they call them? No one remembers. They call them, I forget, they call them something else. But the goal is they're all part of the same warfare. And then compound warfare is also, if you did watch, you don't have to because I don't ask anything on it, but that whole Estonia video, it talks about how Russia might have gone in with cyber warfare. And one of the last things we do is how Israel and the United States, this won't be on this exam, but on the final, cyber warfare sent a worm out to Russia to stop its nuclear program, to Iran, I'm sorry, to stop its nuclear program, which is kind of interesting. What was it, Shutting It or something was the name of it? Very interesting on it. So asymmetrical terrorism is definitely on there. I'm going to send you a video on what happened in the Battle of Algiers. It's only like 5 minutes, but it's a very intense video, how they used women in the fighting, like in Nicaragua, where it was. Why do you think in Algiers in the 1950s, a Muslim country, why do you think the people fighting against the French, the occupying forces, would use women? What do you think women would be a useful tool to attack in these kind of hit and run attacks?
I mean, I know that they've been using several different attacks for this. They would, lure the men, they're lonely, and get them into a secluded place and then ambush them.
Oh yeah, I say that. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. So I thought that was really neat. And, especially in a lot of like religious, like Muslim countries, Islamic countries, they've got, a lot of head coverings. They can hide behind that,
Yeah,
use
that's
that
a
to
good
their
point.
advantage.
And I was also thinking they're considered docile, particularly in the 1950s, 60s. In Algeria, they it's called The Battle of Algiers, the movie. And that's a good point. You know, women can hide things easier than men, particularly under those conditions. And I don't think anymore, but a long time ago, they saw women more as, you know, innocuous, like, oh, they're not going to be. And they actually, in one scene, I'm not going to send that out, they actually use a child and stuff. Yeah, that's a great points. Oh, and I do the same thing with, I do mention the movie The Patriot in the midterm, if you remember, in asymmetrical warfare. That's Mel Gibson, love him or hate him, says to his kids that we can't fight the British in conventional battles. So they started using asymmetrical warfare against the British, which I find pretty interesting, that they used, you know, because there's no way we were gonna, me being from the United States, Massachusetts too, Concord and Lexington, see that? If you're from Great Britain, you get minus point. Why we defeated the Brits, you know, through asymmetrical warfare, because there was no way one-on-one we were gonna be able to take them. If you ever do get the chance to see The Patriot, that beginning is pretty interesting and does serve as how I think we fought the British. I wasn't around back then. I'm not that old. And again, offensive realism. I do mention The Patriot. Mersheimer, what's his argument on the Ukraine?
Well, I mean, doesn't he say that he thinks because of NATO coming into Eastern Europe, you know, Russia feels basically like, hey, we're under attack. We need to fight back and be defensive.
That's his argument, and that's a great way you put it. Like, to be defensive, like, it's not offensive realism necessarily for Mersham, it's defensive realism because he's seeing it as a defensive posture. Now, when I teach this class in class, the students have a ton to say about this. Some people absolutely hate Mersheimer for this. Others say, well, you know, we do have to consider Russia's own security issues. I'm not even going to ask what you think of what's his name who did the interview with Putin, who spoke. If he didn't, when's he speaking at the RNC? What's his name?
Tucker.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson. We get it to be those can be pretty big debates whether he should have done it or not, or whatever, or you know what they think of Tucker Carlson. Obviously, that gets into like the whole interview itself.
Could
You
be
know,
one of our debates.
yeah, a lot of people, he still got his gente. A lot of older people I noticed from my generation do like Tucker Carlson and really listen to him. Whether you hate him, love him, that's up to you. The Colombian peace process, I do that because in a lot of my classes, particularly political violence, because I think it's important once people, since you people are a good group here in the Zoom, because you recognize there's a lot of conflicts outside the Ukraine and Gaza. But after conflict, people forget we have to do something with all these combatants. The United States has been pretty good with the GI Bill, although not a lot of people actually take the GI Bill. Like 80% don't, I've heard. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But the goal is to incorporate ex-military, people who have suffered, etc., into the system. And in developing countries, this is hard. One, a lot of people want to kill you after, right? The FARC, that was the group, were getting assassinated. But there have been initiatives, and that's what that video is about. It's kind of, I think I do it in Empirical Inquiry as ethnography. It is interesting to see how some groups are trying to help incorporate the FARC, who's not very popular in Colombia, but this is what we have, right? In developing world, after, say, the Hutu and Tutsi genocide, after, you know, in Ethiopian conflicts, after all these conflicts throughout the world, what do you do with these kind of non-state active military people, etc.? You sometimes have to go beyond wanting to kill them, and you need to incorporate them into society. I had a student who was from Cambodia, and his family was killed by the Khmer Rouge. And interestingly enough, there were not as many as attacks as you'd think in the peace process. And he said to me that his father said, well, we have to move on from this. I couldn't do that. See, I'm not as good a person as this guy is. You know, I mean, his family's killed, which happened a lot, obviously, in Cambodia. And there weren't really that many attacks of revenge, which is something they have to think about after these conflicts end. And I think this is important for national security because a lot of times after the conflict ends, people are like, okay, the conflict ended, it gets no press. But there's actually a lot of problems, with revenge attacks, etc. And trying to get people incorporated into society is a very, very big national security concern, because you don't want these things happening again. And I think this is my personal opinion. This is what's happening in Sudan and other places where they kind of failed to incorporate people into the system. And Sudan right now is kind of a bit of a disaster, unfortunately, lamentably speaking. Oh, hold on. Someone said something in the chat. Anything? I have mixed feelings about Mersheimer. Thanks. Boo, Mersheimer. Yes. Grupos paramilitares, Christina, they had a different name. I forget what it was, and I should remember.
Sicario was what I was thinking, but that's Hitman, right?
Yeah, that's like Sicario can be just any hitman. Like,
yeah.
I know I'm just thinking of gangs like pandillas, but I know it's not pandillas.
Yeah, pandillas is like what the guy from El Salvador is going after. Very popular president. Let me make sure. So compound warfare, I want to make sure irregular forces, 100%. The terrorist Dora Maria Diaz, she is basically, that is intersubjective terrorism. The idea is, what is terrorism might be something different from another person's point of view. I'm sure the British weren't calling, our people heroes and let's put them on the dollar bill and stuff like that. No, they were basically terrorists or bandits, whatever discourse they used at the time. Remember that current crisis in the Persian Gulf, I like it, particularly about how it talks about Hezbollah, Lebanon and stuff, hybrid warfare, which you don't get a lot of. But that's basically everything: cyber warfare, state actors, non-state actors. And I think it's always been there, because people forget, what if we won World War II without the decoders? There's a lot now more information on how the British, the Native Americans in the United States, participated in decoding a lot of the information that the Germans and others were sending to each other. That was very, very important. And yet, log rolling, Cuban Missile Crisis in Estonia, that is that national security transcends culture, time, geography, because it's basically the balance of power. And, it's not about language skills or area or time. It's about an old age, perennial policy that people, I think, will continue to use for a long, long time. And that's what I think is going on now. And I'll end, in my opinion, this new Cold War we're in, fighting for Africa, alliances in Africa. And here there was a coup. I don't think we cared about the coup or not. I think what we cared about more was, this coup is going to the side of Russia, which it has, which is kind of interesting. Okay, any other questions or comments on anything? Paper, life, liberty, happiness? I don't have answers on it.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
And I'm not sure if you'll have the answer or if I need to check in with the Chicago Justice Project. But so it seems like it's just generates articles one after the other after the other. It's not like they set aside X amount of articles for us to do. So is there a certain number of hours or articles for us to, basically?
That's a great question, because I just sent them. Remember, this is only 6 weeks. Remember, they have other work. Remember, some have children. Remember, some have full-time jobs. I just sent that to them, and she said, she's very nice. She's not the head of it. She's more of an assistant. That, okay, I'll just, is there a number set or whatever? And that allows me, since I'm not doing it. Did you do one yet, Christina?
Yeah, I checked it out today. I did.
Is it difficult?
No, well, the directions weren't very detailed and clear. So it's all on the left-hand side. The first top is like ethics, or not ethics, ethnicity, and like the age of the victim and the whoever else is involved in the article. But then there's all these categories at the bottom. And so I did all of it. And then I emailed her and said, I'm a little confused. Are we supposed to just do the top part where it just has their age and, ethnicity and all that? And that she just wrote me back and said, that's all we have to do. So that makes it a lot easier.
I did all of it. I did all of it. So was it the top part? Sorry, Christina.
Yeah.
I was a little confused too.
Yeah. So she just wrote back and she said, just do the top part where it's like the sex, the name, the ethnicity, the race,
Okay.
and then where it says categories, you stop right there.
Okay. Makes,
Apparently
okay,
they
it's a
do
lot
that.
less
Yeah,
overwhelming.
way
Okay.
less. Yeah, they do. I guess they do that on the back end. So the two that I did it all. So I guess whatever.
I guess
Sounds
one
like
of the things
More
is
power
don't
to
do too many too quick because then she'll think it's easy. So just like do one a
Oh,
week.
I know. Well, the first one was like, it was almost like a police reporting. It was very small. And then the second one was a little bit more like I had to Google like the ethnicity of the case. So that it wasn't in the article. And they want
So
us,
it depends, right?
yeah. Like they want us to Google if their like race and ethnicity is not listed in the article. So there's a little research sometimes.
Right. I hope you like it. At the end of the semester, I put up a thing how to put on a internship on your resume. I just offer it. You don't have to do it. Like there's no, oh, I have to do it. You do what you think is right. If you think, you might have a lot of internships already as experience, people in online classes, something to do. And then some people do it. Hey, I like to put it on my resume. It's a good idea, etc. And then kind of figure out how to make it, kind of sex it up on your resume. Like, oh, this is really cool, that you were doing research for a non-governmental organization. Thanks so much for that. Is there anything else? Anything on the final paper debate? I did watch the debates. The people who put them up, I really enjoyed. Everyone's gotten the full points so far. I especially the one on Ukraine, should we be allowed to fire into Russia? There's some disagreements on that. The Hiroshima and Nagasaki is always a great debate. Anything else, Matt?
Yeah, when is the debates are? What's the last date you can turn them in? 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm
I
still.
haven't. I thought I'd put something in. I'll send out something. I
Okay.
don't like to say I'm super flexible with those, but I'm super flexible with those because then people just wait till the last minute, right? I was a student too. I would
Right.
rather have you not wait till the end of the semester to do it because then you've got a lot of other things. Sometimes people are taking more than one class. You've got kids, all this stuff, jobs, life. But I mean, the last day I accept it usually like around the last week of the course. And that goes for the response too. Remember, you can do a response on anyone. Don't stick to your debate if you, want to branch out and do something. And some of you have had me before, I know, so you're kind of used to these debates. You don't have to put it on YouTube. You can put it like just upload the MP4. I've had people for certain reasons couldn't, so they email me directly. That's fine as well. So yeah.
I've been holding out on my debate. I posed the Hiroshima one. I just didn't know if we also go through kind of these debates throughout the lectures and the class and the reading. So I was like waiting to see if like there was more facts because I know it was one of the last weeks.
Oh.
So I didn't know if we were going to learn about it in the class. So I was waiting.
No, yeah,
but
you should do your own research on those. And it's really your own opinion, because like what if I give my opinion, I mean, you don't want to reflect my opinion. So
all right, that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely do what you think is correct on these. I'm very flexible. I don't, I'm not the caudillo. That's like the leader. You people have your own arguments that are good. I always learn from these, so that's why I like these as an assignment. Anything else? I'll go ahead, Mark.
Just this is kind of off topic. I wanted to get your opinion, thoughts, synopsis on the situation in Haiti, of all places. Only ask because I'm actually part Haitian myself. But I mean, of course, you know that it's the first independent Black nation that in the Western Hemisphere.
Right.
But they have no government. They have. I mean, Kenya, from what I understand, is they are now with their military. I just wanted to know what you.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Haiti it's so lamentable. There's a lot of racism there in colonization.
Mhm.
They did not invest in the Haitian people like, say, in Latin America proper. Like a lot of people complain, why is Haiti poorer than, say, Dominican Republic? And because the French wouldn't invest anything. There's good research on it, like, comparing, say, the colonization. Even with India, the Brits invested more than, say, the French in Haiti and other French Francophone countries in Africa. I think that has a lot to do with it. We have been brutal supporting dictators like Baby Doc and others. I don't know how your family feels about them. There are Haitians that love him, Haitians that hate him. He kept stability, etc. And then anytime people we didn't like Aristide, we kind of went in and Clinton first put him back, and then Bush took him out. According to Aristide, kidnapped him like the Russians did in the Prague Spring and Czechoslovakia with Alexander Dubček. But I think Haiti, and I'm so glad you brought that up because it is like on our doorstep right by Florida. It has everything with it, non-state actors, state actors, a lot of prejudice coming from the Dominican Republic with the immigration of Haitians, the migration issue. I do not have a solution. Sorry. They did send in Kenyan forces and other forces. It has been some evidence shows that like non-US soldiers actually do better in these situations, particularly African and other Latin American forces. Before there was a huge force of Latin American, Brazilian, obviously Brazil is Latin American in Haiti that tried to keep stability. Should we even have outside forces? Because then you can create a backlash if there's any kind of abuse by the outside forces in Haiti. I think right when that guy was killed, it was just the vacuum that happened was disastrous. And now, I mean, living in Nicaragua, it never got that bad, but I see why these kind of gangs kind of prop up, because what happens is, for a lot of reasons, a lot of people say, oh, that's just bad, but this is their livelihood. They're in the barrios of, I know they don't speak Spanish, they speak French, but they're in these barrios, and then they start, these turf wars, and there is no central government right now. And I think most of our embassy, correct me if I'm wrong, has been taken out. That would be an amazing paper to tackle, is the Haitian conundrum. And it seems like, unfortunately, all society is like, well, we can't really do much about it. Because I think everyone from USA, the United States, and other countries have pulled out of Haiti. Anything probably better than me, about the Haitian conundrum is it's a, I mean, ineffably lamentable situation.
Yeah, because I'm
That's interesting.
considering actually doing that as my paper.
Oh, good. Then I will.
Yeah.
Sorry, Raimi. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Raimi. No, it was Raimi.
Oh, Raimi.
It was interesting for Mark because I work in an immigration law office, so we see a lot of Haitian immigrants. So, what I was just curious, if your parents, immigrated from Haiti, and then like I speak French too, but I've been like monitoring that because, as you said, Professor Ripley, like it is at our doorstep and just a huge national security concern of all of these immigrants coming in, and like I deal with criminal and immigration on the same side. So like these insurgency criminal groups and drug trafficking groups come in too as well. So that can create negative sentiments.
Wow. Yeah, I Haiti has historically been, and it's been ignored by a lot of academics and stuff like that. I think it's
It really has.
yeah, like you don't hear, oh, I'm a Haitian scholar, like you would a Cuban or say Central American. That's too bad. And I'm excited. I'm not excited about the situation, but about your paper. That's going to be great. Anything else on any of these things? Go ahead, Jonathan.
I'm not sure if I missed it. When is the paper due?
I didn't actually, let me see on the thing, because I got it right here. The only thing, thanks for liking the Mackenzie interview. She's amazing. She's Harvard, because someone wrote that in the chat. That's right, because right now it's only the more points, the better interview with Harvard law student. And then she got the Chicago. I have it around August 9th. I don't know if I can keep it, because isn't that the very last day of class? Because the reason why is I'll put it up if it's August 9th that's what I'm looking at now, the exact last day of class. If August 9th is the last day of class, I do it August 8th because I get a ton of people who will write to me. Yeah, August 9th, so it'll be due August 8th, which is really August 9th, because I'll put August 8th end of the day, and then 50 people will email me. And then I'll send an announcement. Okay, that's so it's like August 9th, but really I put August 8th because, you know, to make it sound like, yeah, I'm a nice person, I'll let you do extra day. But I can't let it go longer because the grades are due. That's the problem with these short classes. But I do try to give you some breathing space. So like if grades are due the 12th and you give me something on the 10th, then I'd accept it. I'm not supposed to, so don't tell anyone. Someone told someone once and I got in trouble. They said, why are you allowing that? I go, that's in their interest. Why are they? But anyways, I try to give you some breathing space. If you were in my last class this semester, this summer, I did send out an email saying, boo. Yeah, I know. I was like shocked. I'm like, someone's complaining that I'm taking things after, but that's how it is. I can't control people. Yeah, so thanks for bringing that up, Jonathan. That's a good point. So I'll have it on August 8th, end of the day. And then, you know, it's, if you get it in August 9th, you'll be fine.
Alright.
And then even probably the 10th. It depends. They do it not willy-nilly, but like when grades are due is very important because they start getting emails. You gotta get grades in by say the 10th. And if that's the day after, you know, they like them in and stuff. So
That makes sense. Is there like a max length? I doubt it, but
I don't have a max. I have a minimum that's on the syllabus. I can't, just like if someone does, some people do 14 minutes in the debate, you know, I can't always listen to I'll do the first 10 minutes, but then I'm like out, you know what I mean? Psychologically. I grew up with MTV, so you know, my attention span's bad. You could do a lot more pages. Will I read them past 10? I don't know. That's another thing. But definitely, if you are passionate, my opinion is, and I'll end here with this advice, do something that you can put in your portfolio. You do something maybe 6 pages or 7 pages top, and then you get it looked at because all the students I have in the class, I can't grade grammar. Then you basically, you know, help do the grammar part for them. We have the writing lab, they called it now, writing workshop. And then if you took me before, I know Chandler did his paper with me and others. You know, if you want to rework something for this class or take something, because you did a qualitative case study or something, you know, you can do something like that as well and try to really make the paper good, possibly publishable someday and stuff like that. Because if anyone want to go to graduate school, they are now wanting like papers and stuff like that. I don't know about law school as much. You could do law and national security as well. I want to stress that because so many people want to go to law school.
They are doing law. Yeah. I would suggest if you're doing law, I would write a paper surrounding like the type of law you are interested in.
Yeah. Because there's so many people that want to go to law school. I don't even know how they select them. Like I'll have great candidates that don't get into a school and then others that do. Watch the Mackenzie interview. I really liked it. I liked she's great. She got into Harvard Law School. And there's a lot of information in there that I give it all my classes, so you might have seen it already, that I think is fungible for different areas. Stuff like that. I was surprised she did a one-on-one, but she did Zoom. So like those are becoming more prominent. That's why in the debates I say, you know, pretend you're like in a job interview. So it's not just about the debate itself, but it's about, you know, convincing someone to hire you. Anything else? Thanks for all the time. I really appreciate it. You people coming up. Now remember, if you do take a class with me again, that would be great. I'll end with the professional development. Try to take a professor more than once to get good letters of recommendation. It's good that people come to this so then I can remember. It's tough if you're on, I know Chandler, you're not online, but if you are online, right? Just online. It's sometimes tough to get those good letters of recommendation. So definitely reach out to your professors. Take someone more than once. I say to all the time. So if you take me once, I can give a recommendation, but if you take me twice, then you know it's better and better and stuff like that. Chandler's had me too many times now. I think you're
I have
with
a
me again this
question.
semester. Go ahead, Christina.
So now I just can't remember. Okay, yeah, so this is my second time taking you, so I'm definitely gonna hit you up for a letter recommendation. But oh my gosh, I can't remember the question now.
the thing you want to do is how do you set yourself apart from other students? A laundry list is what I suggest. Like what papers did you do? What did the debates? You went to the Zooms, you reached out to me, et cetera, et cetera. Some things that, I can put in there that personalize the letter of recommendation. So it's not just, oh, Chandler came to the class, he did well, he got an A, he's very responsible. I mean, that's generic, right?
Right.
So you don't want that. So you want to say what unique characteristics can the professor talk about? Sending transcripts and resumes are not always the best because then the professor might regurgitate that information and they already have it.
Okay.
So
I do remember my question. The statistics class, are you giving that class anytime soon?
it's probably not this semester, but the next one. It's only for online students. I got a
Right.
grant to do that. I got a grant from the government. I'll be going to Costa Rica soon. So
Oh, that's good.
I'll see if there's any Haitian immigrants because I'm doing something with migration and see because they are going to other countries. And Costa Rica is relatively stable. But that was a grant from the online people. That's why it's only for online students, meaning you
That's
can't be both, whatever it is. I forget what they call it. So
Okay.
yeah, anything else, Christina? Sorry.
No, so spring of 2025.
5, right. I can't believe we're in
Okay, cool.
2025 and I'm alive.
I
It's
know.
good to know. Yeah, so I'm gonna head with the kids. Yeah, thanks for coming out. This was a very lively time. I really appreciate it. If you ever want to contact me, just send me an email, any other questions, etc. And then we'll do this again for the final.
Thank you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
thank
It was
you.
a pleasure.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Dr.